I'm Helen Anderson, Principal of St Mary's School. Our school is situated in the northeastern suburbs of Melbourne. We have 552 students and we're gradually growing over the last couple of years. We have a number of different nationalities here, but it's mainly third or fourth generation Italian background students. My vision was that all children should be able to be engaged actively in their learning and that teachers are here to support that. And my philosophy really has been that teachers need to be well educated, well versed in curriculum and in pedagogy to be able to support that learning. So when I came, our leadership positions were fairly much dedicated to administrative roles, where I could see that we needed a depth of curriculum roles. We needed people to be able to lead that learning. So over time, we were able to implement curriculum leaders who can lead learning. And as a team, those leaders work together under the one theme. So we don't work on projects in mathematics, in English. We bring it together as one understanding, and that's about engagement, active learning of students, and consistent practice of teachers, so that we're all offering equity in learning across the school. Well, in the beginning, we were able to look at what we were doing. We were quite confident and happy with what we were doing, but we were able to then slowly look at the content of the Australian curriculum and marry it back to what we were currently doing, which gave teachers confidence, I think, to be able to move forward with the new content.
My role is Director of Teaching and Learning, and I work with teachers in planning and developing the curriculum. I work in ICT as well, so we embed the practices of ICT in the curriculum. To assist with our planning, we've developed time where I meet with the teachers during back-to-back planning, where there's a 2-hour slot of planning, and we actually work together to nut out what we need to put in place. It's a great time to support teachers and also to model different ways of thinking, different ways of expanding on the curriculum, looking at the needs of our students and then matching that with the curriculum. We've begun with economics in year 2 this year. We found that it's an interest in the children's interest, and it fits in very well with our global perspectives. It's really important that learning doesn't begin in year 3 in the economics area, in the humanities area. As a school, we've mapped out the curriculum so that we're actually looking at areas from foundation to year 6 and mapping out that we've covered those areas well enough to be able to report to parents and give students a development of understanding throughout the school.
My name's Elizabeth Whiting. I've been at St Mary's for 7 years. I began here as a classroom teacher, and 4 years ago I took on the Foundation to 2 Literacy Leadership, and I've done that for the last 4 years, and over this year I've now taken on the Foundation to Year 6 Leadership, so I look at literacy across St Mary's. When reporting, we found a need that our assessment tools did not match the Australian curriculum. So we looked at what reporting tools we had in place, for example, an assessment rubric that we used to moderate our students' writing, and we used the Australian curriculum lens to change the language within our rubric to ensure that we were plotting students at their point of need in order to teach them and in order to report against the Australian curriculum. One of the tools that we've developed at St Mary's is focus booklets, and our focus booklets are based on what the teachers are up to with their professional learning. We've done a lot of work around learning intentions and genre, and so the teachers have worked in teams, and we've been able to build focus booklets where the teachers record what they're teaching through their modelled writing. They record their success criteria and learning intentions. They record what instructional strategies they're going to be employing, whole class and small group, and they also record what their learning intentions are. They then stay quite focused on what the area of teaching is and the area of learning is. This way they can use their focus booklets either to feed into their reporting or feed into their ongoing teaching. We also have these in reading, in writing and in mathematics, and different teachers have different focus booklets. There's slight changes depending on what aspect of teaching they're up to in developing. So we look at individual teachers having different needs, just like our students do in our classrooms. But we are looking to build consistent practice over time. So the idea would be that although they look different now, we're building towards consistent practice across the school. A specific example of how we've supported one another is our work around professional inquiries. At St Mary's, we're currently doing a professional inquiry based on learning intentions and success criteria.
So the learning intentions allow clarity to the learning. These learning intentions are actually negotiated with the students. We began with teachers creating learning intentions for students, but now we're actually working towards students creating their own learning intentions. And then the next process will be working with success criteria in the same way.
Who can remember, what do I need to begin my sentence with? Isabella, capital letter. So I'm going to start with a capital letter.
I'm Jess Ashworth and I've been teaching for 3 years. This is my 4th year, my 2nd year in a prep classroom. So coming into the school, the Australian curriculum was just being developed and brought into the school. So through our professional learning teams, we've explored it, we've taken it slowly and looked at one thing at a time, and I found it really helpful to be able to have the collegial discussions around the Australian curriculum and then using that to develop future teaching. With our team, we created a rubric using the Australian curriculum, and then from that we've analysed every student's piece of writing, looked at their needs, grouped them, so every day we have a different focus group focused on their particular needs. I think at this school we've handled challenge as well because we've only taken one part of it at a time and looked at it thoroughly. Rather than looking at the whole thing, it could have been really overwhelming. But here we're lucky enough to have the support to take things slowly and do it thoroughly, so we can really focus on one part of the Australian curriculum rather than exploring the whole thing at once.
What's the extra phrase I added into there that made that little paragraph a bit more interesting, Michael?
So my name's Amelia. I'm an experienced teacher. I've been teaching for 15 years. This is my 4th year teaching here at St Mary's in Greensborough. So we've been working in our PLT. We've also had professional learning through a writing project, and through that we've looked at the Australian curriculum, and we've worked on using mentor texts. And the aha moment for me in terms of particularly descriptive writing, which this lesson was focused on, was the need to be explicit about teaching the grammar of the writing. And so this lesson was really designed about looking at making sure that students were aware of the grammar that we were using and how they could be improving what they had started with. So in planning this lesson, it came through a series of lessons which had started with some pre-assessment being taken, so working out what the children had already known about descriptive writing, so a work sample to begin with. Then a unit of work was built around the standard from the Australian curriculum, and also then what the students were showing us that they already had in place or didn't have in place. Students' writing has become probably more extended in their thinking. They're using better language and they're able to talk about their writing with far more clarity than prior to being part of this project and this writing process. So I just think the most important message from this is that as teachers we never stop learning, that our professional development is continual and that we can grow and improve our practice through collegial conversations, professional reading, and that we can always just keep doing better.
Over the years, we've done a lot of work on teacher pedagogy about the who and the how we should be teaching, and the Australian curriculum has allowed us now to be able to look at the what. It's a lovely broad scope that's in the curriculum that's allowed teachers to be able to bring their way of being able to implement their teaching, because that's not directed in the Australian curriculum. It's the content that's there, and it's a broad content that allows us still to be able to maintain our approach to teaching and learning, which we have here at St Mary's, that it's personalised, it's evidence-based, and it's student voice. So there's room still there for student voice.